Usually, when we think about containers, there's like a very clear boundary, right? You have a glass and you have water. Two totally different things.
Right, yeah. One holds the other, you just pour the water out, and, well, you have an empty glass again.
Exactly. But imagine if the second you poured that water in, the glass and the liquid actually fused, like they merged into an entirely new substance where you couldn't even tell where the container ended and the contents began. That exact fusion is what we're looking at in today's text.
Yeah, it's a wild concept. We're looking at the April 25th devotional from Rhapsody of Realities by Pastor Chris.
Right. And our mission today is to explore this really specific, radical theological claim from the text. The idea that a believer isn't just, a container for faith, but the literal physical manifestation of Christ on earth. Okay, let's unpack this. The central argument, it kicks off by drawing a hard line against the typical idea of religion. It's not about joining a club, paying your dues, and showing up on Sundays.
No, not at all. Instead, it argues that the life of God is tabernacled within you.
Tabernacle, that's a pretty heavy concept.
It really is. Historically, tabernacle was a temporary tent for the divine. But the way it's used here, it implies taking up permanent, integrated residence. It's an inseparable union.
Yeah, which feels less like an organizational shift and more like a fundamental DNA merger.
What's fascinating here is the massive psychological pivot this demands. I mean, for centuries, a lot of religious frameworks have positioned God as an external figure.
Right, someone up there or out there managing humanity from a distance.
Exactly, but this framework collapses that distance entirely.
Oh.
Move the divine from an external destination you were trying to reach to an internal present reality.
So if we accept that internal merger, the logical next step is a complete shift in human nature. The author leans heavily into this idea of becoming a quote-unquote new creature.
Yeah, the premise being that sin once severed humanity from divine life, but that severing is now completely fixed, and it goes far beyond just being forgiven.
Wait, really? How much further?
Well, this philosophy describes the new creation as a divine being that is entirely superior to Satan. The idea is that the old, flawed human nature is effectively gone, just replaced by the nature of God.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because to support this, the author argues that sin has no dominion over you.
Right, and when we say dominion, we're talking about master-slave dynamic.
Yeah, it's claiming that power dynamic is completely shattered. But wait, if I'm supposed to be this flawless divine creature, why do I still lose my temper in traffic?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Totally. Like, how does this framework reconcile the messy reality of human flaws with a claim of literal divine perfection?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it's about a shift in consciousness rather than instant behavioral perfection. The theological mechanism here is that your core nature has changed.
Oh, I see. So it's an identity thing first.
Exactly. When you truly believe sin has no dominion, like no master authority over you, you stop operating out of guilt or condemnation. The biggest everyday implication is the complete end of striving.
The end of striving. I like that phrasing.
Yeah, you don't have to climb a spiritual mountain to earn a connection, because the struggle to connect is over. You are already there.
So what does this all mean? Like, if you aren't burning energy trying to reach an external God, how does that actually change how you move through a random Tuesday?
This raises an important question. How does one actually walk this out? The philosophy argues that wherever you are, God is physically present.
Okay, so it's not just the feeling that God is watching from above?
No, not at all. It's the belief that when you speak, God is talking. When you look at a problem, God is seeing it through your eyes. If you help someone, it's a direct divine blessing flowing through your literal hands.
Wow, so it's treating your physical body as a direct conduit? The author actually urges readers to make this their constant meditation, right?
Yeah, to completely reject the idea of being a mere man.
Right, and start operating as the expression of Christ in the earth. That is a heavy meditation.
But think about the psychological confidence that would give you. I mean, to face a crisis not as an isolated, flawed human trying your best, but with the conviction that you are an active, divine vessel.
Fully equipped to handle it.
Exactly. It forces you to completely rethink your limitations and your identity.
It really is a radical paradigm shift from passive seeker to active vessel. By the way, if you want to dive into the full text for yourself, you can find it at www.rhapsodyofrealities.org.
Definitely worth a read to see how they structure the argument.
Absolutely. Which brings us back to that fused glass of water from the beginning. If someone were to truly wake up today, holding that consciousness, genuinely believing that God was literally seeing, listening, and speaking through them, how would that fundamentally alter the very next conversation they have?
We trust you were blessed by this episode. To gain unlimited access to Rhapsody of Realities by Pastor Chris, please download the Rhapsody app using the link myapp.rhapsodyofrealities.org. God bless you.